have tried to restart.
There we go.
Oh.
All right, I'd like to bring to order this council meeting for September 17, 2019. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let you lead us.
Yes,
We did the roll call, that's right.
Yeah, so I think you'd like to jump to D, Warumbo Mills Site Inspection Update, if there are no objections.
I think we have people waiting.
Seeing none,
None?
yes, I think we're all set.
Let's do that.
Excuse me.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. My name is Charlie Springer with TRC. We're the brownfields consultant that was hired by the town of Lisbon to help administer the EPA brownfields grant, which the town has received and is working its way through. Tonight, I know everything's running long. I'll try to be really quick. I actually have very good news. This is a very positive message that I'm going to give, but we've completed our work out at 1 Canal Street, the old White Mill building, part of the Warumbo Mill complex. And I'm pleased to report that in general terms, it is a clean site. We did not find really much of anything out there. There are some concerns. I'll go through that now. But just to skip to the end, I'm not trying to sugarcoat or hide anything. This is actually a very good story. The town did very well. It could have been much worse. In fact, as far as old mill sites that I have personally seen, this might be the cleanest. So now, mind you, again, remember we're talking about this one parcel. I can't speak to the stuff that's a little further downstream next to the hydro. We didn't do any work there. But to lay out what we actually did do, I think when last we discussed, we had done the Phase 1 environmental site assessment, and we were discussing options on how to move forward. So now to bring you to current, we've actually executed a Phase 2 environmental site assessment, which is collecting all sorts of different types of environmental samples, mainly groundwater, soil, and subsurface soil that we collected. I'll get to those results in a minute. Because based on those results, we actually went back out and did some supplemental work, minor, just to make sure we knew what was there and what wasn't there, which is, again, part of the good news. We found that for groundwater, we didn't find anything above state standards, assuming a park user, commercial or industrial use in the future. We excluded the residential use and did not compare against those state standards, understanding the town's desire not to have that be a residential parcel, at least at this time. As far as soil, we did find in our initial work both arsenic and chromium above state standards. We did some supplemental work, which was the second piece that we did, and chromium was the big driver here, and we were really at a loss as to why does this site have chromium. Sometimes with woolen mills, chrome can be in dye, and certain types of chromium are actually carcinogenic. So this could be a potential issue. So we went back and did what's called speciation. The chemistry, there are two different types of chrome, hexavalent, trivalent. I know it's late. This is not supposed to be back to chemistry class. But bear with me. One causes cancer, one doesn't. What we were able to do with our supplemental work is identify that the chrome that's out there is actually trivalent. It's not the carcinogenic kind. And when you do that of it to survive, and it's in all of us. So again, a very good story. From a reuse, so again, that's soil, that's groundwater. And that's across the site. Oh, I mentioned arsenic in soil. The highest concentration of arsenic that we found out on the site is actually in a background sample that was just off-site on Miller's property still. The state required us to take a background sample, and funny how that came back to be the hottest location. But arsenic is naturally occurring in the state of Maine. We all know this. I'm sure some of us have arsenic treatment systems on our drinking water and whatnot. This is not unusual. We find it all over the place, and we deal with it. But again, here on this parcel, the arsenic is below park user, commercial, industrial standards. So that's great news. The one thing to be cautious of going forward, this site has kind of two different areas. There's the cleared area where the building used to be and the parking lot used to be. That area, we didn't find anything. there's some building material, debris in the bottom. When they took the building down, they filled, the building wasn't exactly flush with the ground, right? Like there was a part, the first floor kind of went into the hillside a little bit. Well, all that was filled with building rubble and covered over. Inert material from what we can tell. Good news. The side that is currently forested, when the mill burned in the 80s,
Yep.
The mill owners took a lot of the demo and rubble debris and put it over on the old ball fields that were there, and now that's all up and overgrown. That is a solid waste issue that the town will have to deal with if they ever choose to develop that portion of the site. In that portion of the site, there is some asbestos, and that's the cautionary tale. It's asbestos. As from my standpoint, who deals with hazmat every day, it's asbestos. That's actually something that's pretty easy to deal with. But it's commingled with all this big rock, big granite block, rebar, all sorts of stuff. So there will be some effort and labor to pull that out and treat it appropriately. Our recommendation right now on that parcel, if the town does not want to move forward with development at this moment in time, is to secure it with fencing and keep the public out. Because now you have knowledge that there is some asbestos there. So there's a responsibility to secure it. The two sides are currently secured. They have fencing, but it needs fixing to make it actually secure. So again, it's a good story. It
ended well.
It ended well. I know there was some heartburn as we went through the process. But the recommendations that we have currently are three things. One, and I already mentioned it, the asbestos-containing material in the debris area. That should be fenced off. Or if you choose to move forward with that, let's get a licensed contractor and let's treat that appropriately and dispose of it at a licensed facility as that's coming out. TRC installed 6 monitoring wells on the site to test the groundwater and again confirm that groundwater is not contaminated. Those right now are PVC conduits under manhole, 6-inch manhole plates. The groundwater is clean. We recommend abandoning those monitoring wells so you no longer have a conduit, or for someone to go out there, kick one off, put a couple quarts of oil down it, and all of a sudden now you have a petroleum problem in the ground. And I believe that, and Diane and I talked about this earlier, I believe that would be fundable under your current brownfields grant to execute that work. So there would be no cost to the town.
Would the asbestos work fall
That
into
was my
brownfield
question.
as well?
Exactly.
The cleanup work, no. The town has a assessment grant from EPA.
Okay.
So we can do surveys, we can tell you where it is, we can tell you what it is. We could do a more detailed survey out there if the town so chose, but we know it's there,
Right.
and ultimately you need an abatement contractor to come out and give you a quote. But that would, again, I'm sorry, I'm kind of sliding around
it's
here,
okay.
but answer your question. Honestly, from my perspective, the likelihood is that you would do that in tandem with either your DPW engaged in moving that material, or you would do it, when you have a contractor there to actually move the stuff, because that's when you're going to find it.
Yeah.
Based on the sampling results, it's primarily, at least from what we found, is primarily the roofing material. It's the tars, it's the flashings. That's the stuff that came back as positive for asbestos containing.
Okay.
So anyway,
Thank
deal with the asbestos containing material, abandon the monitoring wells, which again I believe, assuming EPA approves, it would be fundable by the current grant. And the last step, this is something that the town may choose to do or may not choose to do, and that would be to apply to the Voluntary Response Action Program in the state of Maine. Now, I say this, and I'm telling you that it's a clean site, basically. If you were to apply to the program, and the likelihood is would need to put an environmental covenant on the site that restricts residential use, the state of Maine would then provide a certificate of completion stating that you've complied, you're in compliance, and that you now get the liability protections afforded under state law. And there may be value to the town to do that. There's a fee to apply to this program. It's 1% of the assessed value of the property up to $15,000. We're not going to be $15,000. I don't know the assessed value at the moment, but that is something that we can look into as well with EPA to see if the Brownfields grant could cover that cost. I'm not sure. It would be a case-by-case approval basis from EPA. But if that is not, there's not necessarily a technical reason to go into the VRAP program, but if the town wanted a document from the state that said, yes, you've done what you needed to do, and you now get liability protections afforded under Maine law, that may be of value to the town moving forward, and give, it's a perception of comfort, really, is, for the town to be able to provide the public. So I've been doing a lot of talking. Let me pause and see if there are any questions.
May I?
Please, go ahead.
Two things. One, so the idea of the removal of the test wells, that's something that we don't know if it'd be covered under this? Is it something we'd apply to see if that can be?
It's a phone call that I have to make tomorrow.
Okay, so I mean, it'd be crazy for us not to do that if it actually could be covered.
I
by the sounds
would
of things.
highly recommend it.
Yep, and the idea of, the idea of going for a VRAP, I mean, to me, if it could be covered, it'd be crazy us not to actually pursue that action.
Right.
And, I mean, to me, they're both are really no-brainers if we can get them taken care of with the grant that was allowed. To me, it's just a benefit to the town, and it's, again, unless we're trying to resell the property, the VRAP probably don't play a big role, but yeah, it'd still be nice to have that document in our paperwork. Just to make the council aware, Ken Wells is here tonight. He actually worked with Eagle Creek and is familiar with the property too. And I just want to make sure if Ken has any questions before we wrap up that he can actually.
I'm surprised they never didn't locate any number 2 bunker oil.
No,
Bunker oil under the asphalt parking lot.
No, we know there's the old boiler room hung off the back of the building.
No. I mean, this was dirt that was physically moved from one location, moved to the back of that, and the EPA made them cover it up with asphalt. So you know where the slope is from the back part where the asphalt is here, and it goes down to ground level down here. That was all filled.
Mm-hmm. Well,
1% oil.
well, we put what 10, 15 borings in across the site, and
You guys are lucky because there was a lot of cubic yards of dirt that was moved from one location to there to be capped.
underneath where all the dump debris is, underneath the
Hot
ball
top.
field.
No, underneath the asphalt parking lot. That was not asphalted until he recapped it. They put all the dirt from there over to here, and then they capped it.
Well, bunker oil doesn't move very far. I mean, that's heavy, thick
Well,
stuff.
I've dealt with that stuff
Yeah,
at Farwell
I mean,
Mill for a long time.
Yeah, no, I know what it is. So no, we did not identify that. I mean, we have. I mean, you can see in our report we've got coverage all throughout that parking lot.
I saw the wells that you put out there, so it's just, and then your rock that you say that's actually from the river.
Well, our understanding was from the fire. They moved the mill that burned. They put some of that they put the debris over there on the field.
That was before. Most of that was done during construction of the hydro plant was moved over there.
Okay. Well, fair enough.
So, and then the stuff that you found asbestos on was torn down from an old filtration plant that they tore down, which now Fern owns that property. So,
It's over there now, right?
yeah. So,
He incriminated you too. You're welcome.
Yeah,
no,
nice.
this property's fine now. It got torn down and moved somewhere else.
Again, the documentation that we have for our report, we cite our sources as to where the material came from,
Yeah.
and we have that information. Regardless of how it, the specifics of what day or what year, we know it came from the old mill complex. So it was a building demo, whether it was during the fire. There's material was dumped back on the ball fields, and
Luckily, it's not that terrible, so.
no, and
Yeah.
so and actually to kind of clarify that, because again, you do have the fortune of having this grant still in place with some funds left. The solid waste itself, the block, the concrete, the granite, that's dumped in the old ball field area, that's solid waste. And unfortunately, the grant has to have something hazardous or petroleum contaminated to go after it. I've actually already had that conversation with EPA, trying to advocate for the town, and that is not eligible to do additional delineation assessment of the solid waste material that's there, because that's just the way the grant program works.
Sure.
So
there may not be any action needed at this point in time to apply for a VRAP is what you're basically saying. And besides the idea of capping the wells, pulling the wells and
well, pulling the wells and
fencing.
the idea of the covenant of the certificate of completion through VRAP would be you now have the document. The town has the document that says from the state that you did what you needed to do. Again, my thought is that they're going to, we would have the wells abandoned by then. They would probably require an environmental covenant placed on the site restricting residential use. They'd probably also identify in the covenant that asbestos-containing material was found over on this portion of the site, and my guess is they're going to want you to fence it and secure it, which is all what we're recommending now anyway.
Thank you.
That was my question. I was going to say, how does that, if the VRAP comes into play because we're able to go ahead and fence and secure that area, that would be the minimum that they would require. Well, I say minimum. That would be their recommendation in order for us to get the certificate, is what you're saying. Okay.
VRAP, the way VRAP works is your protections are only as good as your disclosures. So we are disclosing to the state that this is there. So they're going to identify that in your certificate of completion. So it's not that you're now done and don't ever have to do anything with that. They're disclosing that it's there. You're being upfront. It's a very transparent process.
So you said if we're afforded all the liabilities. I want to understand that because I'm not following what you mean. So if you could.
Well, so
Liability protection, you mean?
Yeah. Well, sorry.
right, so what this basically,
Thank you, Alan.
if the town goes through with the VRAP process, and again, I'm making the assumption, it's my professional opinion, that they're going to ask you to do the covenant and they're going to ask you to fence the area.
Right.
There could be other things. I guess I should say that, full disclosure. I've not had that specific conversation with the state. But assuming you comply with what the state wishes, then, the state will give you a document that says that they will not come after you at any point in the future for what you've disclosed. And, you are held, harmless in that. So that's the liability protection.
Thank you.
Oh, and it's not, there are liability protections under state and certain federal laws.
Okay.
That, again, it's a good scenario. And given where the rest of this property sits, that it's an old mill and portions of it are still in, some are privately owned, but some are in bankruptcy, and who knows how all that's going to shake out. My recommendation for the town to do anything you can to strengthen your position to reduce your liability.
So if there was, and this is just me speculating here, because you said some of the other samples that you found on the Miller property that showed some of the higher levels
of arsenic, but that still could be naturally occurring.
Okay.
It's just, to me, it was, not to make light of it, but to me it was just kind of funny. The state required us to take the background samples, and thinking that we would get out away, and those should be the cleanest.
Right.
And here, one of them was the hottest.
Yeah.
Go figure. It's
Well,
Maine.
so, yeah, so I just because you said arsenic, I was thinking to myself, so we get that VRAP cert, and then something bleeds over from the other site. You're saying that we would be all set on that.
Right. So our assessment was fairly comprehensive in the different types of chemicals that we tested for. So all that has been disclosed. By the way, all of that, our larger Phase 2 report has already been reviewed and accepted by Maine DEP.
Nice.
We sent out the supplemental report, and I believe Diane forwarded this to you earlier today. The supplemental report was sent to DEP and EPA for review and comment today. We don't anticipate any major comments.
Good.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
How much of an area or amount of debris are you talking that's actually need to be fenced in?
It's, I don't know a square feet or cubic yard volume, but if you think of the site and to the north, off the cleared area, there's the path that runs up by the river. So it would go from the path to the railroad track to the parcel in that northern side of the parcel that the town just acquired. That's the area that would need to be fenced.
It's on here, right?
Yep. So forgive me for the tiny scale figure, but here's the cleared parcel. This is the path that comes to the river. This is approximately the property line. So we're talking about.
One more time? Yep. Hit me.
So here's the path. So you're talking about that kind of area, the wooded area.
The wooded area. Okay.
That's what would need to be fenced off. That's where the asbestos was identified.
And it's the biggest part of the cleanup, if you will, because how do you get in there to abate that? properly.
As you pull it apart, yeah.
As you pull it apart. That's why I was asking.
There's some challenges with that. Just
And you can't push it up into a pile a little farther to the left
well, so
and then put a fence around it.
I've personally crawled around all back in there, and I mean it's a moonscape. And there's rebar and conduit and roofing material and granite blocks the size of Volkswagens and
I've
pieces
been
of
back there
metal.
myself.
Expensive cleanup is what I'm hearing. That
Well, but it's so you're talking to a has waste guy, and this is primarily solid waste, so no.
okay. Okay.
Could be worse.
But
Okay.
it could be a lot worse. That
Well, that's
might
what I'm
not
saying.
give you
Fencing
comfort.
versus cleanup, because fencing isn't cheap either. So
Well, no, but no, fence is
I
going to
was
be way
actually
cheaper.
coming at it from the
than
other-
I know.
the other.
To what benefit?
right.
The fact is now you're cordoning off the area versus actually looking at what that green space area potentially could be.
You know, I was smiling at you when you were saying it because, I stopped myself and I bit my tongue because as he was framing it out, I was like, "Ladies and gentlemen, your new dog park." But the asbestos is there, and I don't want people to get the wrong idea.
Yeah, no. And it would only be for big dogs, so they could actually like crawl up and
Go over
the
the-
stuff. But
Go ahead.
I got a question for you. If you guys fence that off, is that closed to the public, or because the hydro has an easement back there?
we're not recommending closing off the path that goes down to the river. I don't know where your specific easement is. I'm sure that if there was a deeded easement,
The road,
yep,
that's kind of our easement back to that property.
we're not suggesting to fence that off. It would be to the east of that road, between the road and the railroad track. So that path would still be clear down to the water.
You found nothing to the left of it.
There's some solid debris over there, but we didn't find any asbestos.
There's a lot of rubble over there, I guess, from some of the mills.
And there's a lot of pipe, there's a lot of PVC, there's a lot of styrofoam, there's a lot of stuff that could be hauled out of there.
Mr. Chair, one
Please.
further question.
Go ahead.
You mentioned that the VRAP would be a percentage of the valuation. The question I would ask is not about the fee, but what is the valuation? Because
I don't know off the top
Can
of my
you-
head.
can you get us
I'll
that
get
information?
yes. And
Because-
it's only going to be for a portion of that, right?
Correct. So let's be very clear. You know, this parcel is now been subdivided because the town has acquired it. That is the only parcel that you can put into VRAP because you have control over it.
Yep.
So what is the valuation of that parcel today? And that's what would be 1% up to 15K.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with the fee. It had everything to do with what are we valuing in a property that actually has got limited development capability now? Is it overvalued and it just hadn't been addressed because taxes and everything, the nature of the way we came into this property?
I'll check
What
with
is the
her.
valuation? Is it realistic?
Yeah.
So that's a fair comment, and particularly in the sense that for us, in the VRAP program, they do require a current tax card that shows the valuation, and that is what you would need to supply as documentation to
Right.
document the,
It has nothing to do with the fees. Is that realistic
Right.
for the property? That's why I ask.
which, again, given that you're a municipality who has some control over that, you can, make that realistic. And again, this is not market value. That's not what the state is
Right.
saying. It's
Right.
what is the valuation by the town. So there's potentially some flexibility for you guys there.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks very much. We appreciate all your help.
Yeah.
Look forward to hearing how the phone call with the state goes.
I'll report back when later this week.
Perfect, sir.
Thank you.
And thanks for waiting. Sorry for that.
No problem at all. Thanks for moving us up in the agenda. Really appreciate that.
No worries. Anytime.
Thank you, Ken.
Like he has a choice. All right, next item, Twyla, when you get a minute.
Is good news and recognition.
Good news and recognition. Anybody?
It was better.
Bueller? Okay, good news and recognition. Anyone?
Roll hounds.
Yep. Thank you.
Roll hounds.
Beat me to it. So the boys are off and running. Are they home they're not home this week?
Hounds.
Friday there.
Boys, girls, I don't care. Roll
Talking
hounds.
about football?
Yeah, I'm talking about
Friday we are at
under the lights somewhere else.
we are at Mountain Valley.
Are we? So you, okay.
Guys misinterpret. I'd watch
are
chess at the
At Mountain Valley.
Mountain Valley, all right.
Roll hounds.
7 p.m.
All right, perfect. Great. Anybody else with anything else? This time? All right, we're going to move on. Next item, please.
We have
think you've
public
lost the
hearing,
road.
special entertainment permit for the Lisbon Left Hand Club.
Okay. Anybody here to speak on behalf of the Lisbon Stand Club? So I'll open the public hearing. Again, anyone who wants to speak on this matter, please step to the podium and feel free to go ahead. Going once, going twice, sold. Next item, closing the public hearing. Next item.
The audience participation and response for agenda items.
So at this time, we'll open it up for anybody who wants to talk about anything on the agenda. Please feel free to step to the podium at this time. Anyone? Going once, going twice, closing the public.
Next is the consent agenda. Any counselor wishing to have any item removed may do so now. Order 2019-179 to approve the municipal accounts payable and payroll warrants. Number 942019 for $8,979.93. 904-2019 for $4,290.50. Number 190912 for $188,951.33. 1909W1 for $18,289.73. 911-2019 for $11,137.91. 917-2019 for $628,107.96. The school accounts payable and payroll warrants number 1011 for $304,059.04. 1012 for $12,413.57. Number 8 for $14,959.88. Number 1013 for $319,231.96. And number 2004 for $126,918.23. The council meeting minutes of September the 3rd, 2019, and the liquor license and special entertainment permit for the Lisbon Left Hand Club.
I make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Order passed. 6-0.
Thank you. Next item.
Under council orders, resolutions, and ordinances, Order 2019-180, the photocopier maintenance contracts.
So we have 3 contracts that are coming due at the end of the month. They expire, and we met with our current vendor, and the cost was going to go up quite a bit because they're no longer a Kyocera vendor, and they can't service or get the parts cheap anymore. So when we saw how much it was going to go up, we reached out to Kyocera of New England, and they did provide us a quote for a 2-year contract, which is about 40% less below the current cost for black and white and 32% lower than for the color. So our recommendation is to authorize me to sign a 2-year contract with Kyocera of New England to service our copiers. And we are very satisfied with, especially this copier in this building. We never have any problems, and that is very unusual. I know. You watch tomorrow, it will crash. But anyway.
So my ask on this is I want to understand, the vendor that we were doing business with, are they local?
Yes, Simquest.
So when we go with Kyocera at their corporate office, I'm sure they've identified who it is. They have multiple agents that they contract with here in the state that they would be able to assure that.
I think this one's out of Portland.
Yep.
Yeah,
So they have, so that would be my.
I will make sure of that.
Yeah, just concern, if they get stacked up, then all of a sudden we're waiting behind. I just want to know if they have, they're a big corporation. I would imagine they'd have more than one
Right.
servicing in this area. We just want to make sure we got that before.
Motion to accept the recommendation?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
Thank you.
Order 2019-181 for the Police Department Server Bid Award.
So I sent out several, sent out the RFP to several different people, whether they really qualified to bid on this or not, but I wanted to cover all my bases here. And we received 4 back, and the low bid was with our current vendor, Roundtable Technology, and we would like to recommend that you award the bid to Roundtable Technology in the amount of $14,961.96.
Any reservation they do the scope of services?
They did our
The previous work?
Yep.
Motion to accept.
How much we have budgeted for this?
15.
So, just under the budget. Excellent.
They've been
Second,
responsive.
Yes.
Get a
In
motion and a
fact,
second?
if you
I've got a motion and a second. Yeah, go ahead.
So in fact, if you authorize this, then they're going to lump in the new computers they're going to purchase this year, and we're even going to get a better deal on that. So
Okay, that's fine. They're going to treat us right on the replacements as far as their time cycle that we life cycles we talked about. Excellent. Okay.
So on that piece, when they go through it, are they going through the state procurement plan that's in place for PCs, and are we able to
now
get
they're
that
going right
pricing?
through Dell. They're going to get a special. They go right through
That's
Dell.
the
That's
Dell
where we
pricing is what I'm referring to.
right.
Okay.
But they get a special price through Dell. I'm not sure how that works, but if they place an order for this and those PCs. We're going to get the PCs cheaper than we would if we just did the PCs by themselves.
Okay.
That's why he's been
Sounds
holding
similar to
off
what
on
I'm
this.
thinking of associated with that.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, good. Anyone else? So we got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Order passed 6-0.
Thank you very much.
Order 2019-182, the 2018, is it BYRNA grant, JAG grant? Do they call it burn?
Burn grant.
Yep. Grant.
Good evening, Mark Hagan, Chief of Police. So we have the opportunity to apply for some federal funding. Basically, we've already been allocated $3,023. All we have to do is apply for it, and it'll be sent to us. Basically, we would like to use this money to purchase another new mobile radio for one of the cruisers, as well as a couple portable radios for our officers. All of our radios are at the end of lifespan. We've been trying to use grants to refurbish and get new equipment out. So we would like the request to apply for, accept, and spend the money.
Make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
6-0.
Thank you,
Order
Chief.
passed.
Chief.
Thank you.
Order 2019-183, the Healthy Androscoggin grant acceptance.
So we have been asked, we were contacted last week by Central Maine Community Health Corporation, which is also called Healthy Androscoggin. They had some money left over from a grant that they were working all summer, and basically asked us, well, first of all, I should tell you, they're a local organization that promotes healthy decisions by people under the age of 21, and a lot of it's tobacco, but a lot of it's underage drinking. So they reached out to us. They have some leftover money. They asked if we could use $1,500 to do some high visibility patrols for underage drinking. We won't be able to use it all, to be honest with you, because it has to be used by September 25th. But we could use some to get out there and do some enforcement. So again, it's not a matching fund. It's just some money that we could have to do some enforcement. So we'd like to accept it.
Make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
6-0. Order passed.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Order 2019-184, the Public Works used plow truck.
Hello, Randy Sear, Public Works Director. October 10th, there's going to be a big auction down at the in Scarborough. They have one every year. State sends some of their plow trucks down there. Turnpike Authority sends a lot of their trucks down there. Turnpike Authority is going to have between 2 or 4 trucks, depending on how many they've already set up, and they're left-handers. And I think that's the reason why I can get a good deal on a left-hander, good used left-hander. The wing's on the left-hand side, and it's got a fixed plow that only plows to the left. So really, it's no use to anybody, but we have the plow gear that comes off the old 211 that we can convert to that truck and make us a spare truck cheap. Our new truck did come in. It came in, a couple weeks ago? And it's already been lettered up. Our gear, our plow gear, and our dump body comes in December, and it should be ready mid-January, mid to late January. They just got off the phone with me today, and he said that he tracked down my dump body and everything, and their delivery dates in December. So I was requesting a cap of like $20,000 to buy a spare truck. They're all late model Volvos, very well maintained. I talked to the maintenance director. He told me which ones are the good ones. And basically we'd have a spare truck for any truck that would be down, because it'd be all converted, and it would be, it'd be a good thing to own.
Make a motion for discussion.
That's second for discussion.
Okay. Let's dive in. This is budgeted, right? I remember reading that, yeah.
That's correct.
So we know it's budgeted. It's not an expense outside of what we talked about in the budget cycle.
That's
I just want to put that out
For
there.
specifically a spare truck.
It's a spare truck.
No. The budgeted item was specifically a spare truck. It's
That's-
not buried in a line item called parts or
That's
something.
correct. No.
No.
That's what I wanted
It's
for the
all
public.
separate.
Right.
Right.
And these, do they come equipped with sanders at all, or is it just basically just a straight dump?
There's some combinations that will come with a sander, and there's some that won't. So if I can get the package deal, of course, I'm going to try for that. But we have
Like I said, we've got that other truck that we're going to part out because it's basically no good to mark because it's not stickerable. We were going to send it down to the Parks and Rec. But we're going to take what parts we have available off that truck and convert it into this one. So, and that one does have a sander on it, the body that we have now.
Yeah.
We can convert the body over and essentially with a
So
little
you can
bit
make
of
it work, just, it wouldn't
with
be
a
just
little
a
bit
plow
of
truck, yeah.
right, with a little bit of labor, and if we do it in October, we'll have a good 2 months that we'll be able to get that thing ready. It's just a matter because that has a belly scraper under it, so the valve that we'd use for the belly scraper, angle left and right, we're just going to reroute those hoses to put the quick switch on the front that we already own.
Yep.
So it's just a matter of rerouting the valves in the lines and be able to make that work. And like I said, I think we'd be able to get a real good deal on it because it's a left-hander. Nobody can use it.
Yeah.
They'd be basically just buying it for the truck.
Where would that be? I guess the question would be, as far as truck-wise, are we to the point where that's, if we don't have this truck, we don't have a spare, basically is what you're saying?
Well, if we don't have that truck, we don't have a truck for 211 route, which robs 2 trucks to try to cover that one route.
So we're in need of this truck.
We're in need of a truck
Okay,
until
just,
our other
just
one
want to
gets
make sure that,
upfitted.
that sounds like it's just for a spare, but it's actually a spare that's needed, yeah.
That's correct.
Okay, yeah,
Because if any one goes down, we have nothing.
there you go.
So we're learning from past mistakes, and we're doing so in a cost-effective manner.
That's correct.
Because we're not buying a used truck and then having to outfit it with new equipment. We're cannibalizing from an existing vehicle.
That's correct.
And so it's no cost there. The cost is just the vehicle itself. And we'll get a longer life out of this. Is that because it's not a primary truck?
That's correct.
So could it be used for other things other than the
Absolutely.
summertime? I mean,
Yep.
the wintertime function. Okay. So I see all upside here from where I'm sitting. Anybody else have any questions? Chris? Oh,
I'm just putting my hand up.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
All in favor?
Order passes 6-0.
Moving the process.
Moving the
Thank
process
you.
along.
Thank you
you're
very
right.
much.
Hey, thanks for everything, Randy.
Thank you.
Order 2019-185, the waiver of bid process to purchase the firefighter turnout gear.
Nate Leclerc, Fire Chief. So basically what I'm asking for tonight is to waive the bid process to purchase the 5-6 turnout gear, which is in this year's budget. Back in the spring, in the last budget, we went out to bid for turnout gear. The manufacturer who we awarded the bid to actually guaranteed their price through the end of the calendar year. So instead of going back out to bid and potentially having an increase in pricing, I'd like to go ahead and just purchase a turnout gear without having to go out to bid by utilizing the pricing they gave us back in March.
Make a motion for discussion?
Let's second it.
Okay.
We have this already budgeted. This is already a budget line that we have, and now we're actually, will that use up all your budget that you have, or is that, I mean, you basically buying what you need to fulfill what you have left in your budget as far as for gear?
Yeah, the gear line carries everything from helmets, boots, gloves, the jackets, and pants. So this is just part of that line item.
Yep.
But yes, the money's there for this. I increased the line when I did it as a 5% increase.
Yep.
When I did this. So by going with this, I'm going to actually save myself a little bit of money.
Yep. But this won't leave you short for any other equipment needed?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm trying to be proactive and buying
understood.
5-6 gear a year to replace older stuff.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
In Lewiston, we run them actually good pricing good for a year. The fact is, what I'm seeing on this one is we actually got the benefit out of it because we did one in the spring, and it actually is that 1-year term that the vendor is actually familiar with. Our purchasing policy allows us that latitude. I'm in support.
Anyone else have any questions or concerns regarding this purchase? All in favor?
Order passed 6-0.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next item.
Order 2019-186, the property tax abatement.
So a tax was assessed to account number 758 in error. We never should have assessed it, but it's beyond the time that the assessor can only abate after a year. After that, it has to come to the council, so that's why it's here to you tonight.
Yep.
So we are recommending that you authorize a tax abatement of $454.57, and then write off interest in $27.12 and costs of $60.80 on account number 758.
I make the motion.
I'll second.
A second for discussion. I just want to ask one question, Diane. I'm sure that we did a kind of post-mortem and reverse back to figure out where this mistake was made, so we can make sure, yeah.
It's an abatement this year.
Yeah.
That's what caught it.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect. That's good enough for me. All in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
Next item.
Order 2019-187, the draft legislation for the Finance Committee.
We're there. Pull it up. Tell me what you think, folks.
Did you want to do anything to frame that, Diane? I'm sorry.
Nope, I just kind of looked at other communities that had different bylaws or ordinances or policies pertaining to their finance committee, and I put it together, and then I had Twyla tweaked it for me. And then she found one back, what year was it? It almost mirrored this without me even knowing it. So we just thought it would be a good start to get the finance committee going, and if we had to tweak it later on, we can, or we can tweak it now if you want.
Mr. Chair, for discussion purposes?
Yep.
I was reading the content associated with this, and my notes actually got greater than the content. I was comparing what we actually came up with compared to what we had already in existence that was written out of the charter. The first thing that caught my attention was I liked the 3-year staggered term. My question is if we actually bring in a committee annually, then you're going to continually have new people that have to be trained. There's a little bit of benefit to actually having somebody that's been there for multiple years. I use the planning board as for instance, is the fact that there's considerable amount of tenure on that committee that we greatly rely on. I would like to have the same sort of resource on the finance committee. The next, and I'm going back to, I'm looking at a memo dated February, or meeting notes from February 15, 2013, page 10. They talks about the actual meetings. I like the language associated with that. I like that it references that meetings shall be on second Monday of the month. There's no language associated when in anything that we got here when they actually meet. I think we talked last meeting that meeting quarterly for the amount of expectations was unrealistic. I'd like to formalize that to be a set given day of any given month. It was not in this. This was in the stuff that she gave us at the last meeting that I was actually comparing to what she sent us for the email.
Yep.
Then it refers to what a quorum would be, number of meetings. I kind of condensed that to basically say that a finance committee member must attend at least half of the meetings that it's actually in there to be in good standing. It gives some sort of structure to jumping right into what is actually here. And from there, looking at their committee shall have the following duties. It has a flavor from the municipal side. I get it because it's coming from Twyla and Diane's perspective, but one of the things that's in this is it's actually supposed to include the school committee that I would insert, like review and make recommendations to the council and school committee on the annual operating budget.
Okay.
Getting both pieces of this, so it's got both sides. And what I would also counter with is that we want to actually give this to these folks as well, or do we want just a finance committee that's municipal side and doesn't have the school at this point?
No, I think we have to partner with Solace School. I'm going to use your line here, one basket.
Oh, no, I don't disagree with that one basket of goods. I know what we're thinking. We need to have this same dialogue with them.
Yeah.
That's the point that I'm making.
Oh, yeah, no.
Is that not actually just assume associated that, let them take their take at it as well.
Right.
It also refers to information associated with liaison on both sides. I like that.
Community liaison or community
the
member?
capital presentation presented by the town manager and finance director. The fact is, what are they actually reviewing? The information that you provide them? Because now that we've 3 years into this process, at least there's a process to be able to be part of. This is the first year of 3 that we actually got all the players in one place. What I see with that is now that before it actually gets to us in that public presentation, the sounding board would be this
Right.
kind of mechanism. I totally disagree with E. I don't see that you're going to have individuals from a committee actually be any more prepared or in the position to be able to write bid specs than paid staff. You might be able to get resources from another community, or you may have somebody like the individual who spoke here tonight, the cost accountant. He's got the background. He may have that kind of experience, but frankly, what you're going to need them for is reviewing the proposals.
That's basically what E is, though. It says starts off by reviewing the requests, right? Not so much.
No,
actually-
this quite literally, review requested by the town, bid specifications. The fact is, I'm sorry, that's Randy's job.
Yeah.
That's Randy's job. He's preparing the bid specifications. I don't want
So
that
you
put
want
to the
I
finance
can
committee.
just, I'll just take
Strike
the,
E. Yeah.
But if Randy has a recommendation on what he actually is asking, I wouldn't see that that would be an appropriate place to be able to get the finance committee to weigh in.
Right.
That do you agree with his recommendation?
but you don't want to strike it all together because it does say and request for proposals.
So I guess
That's
maybe
what I'm
just-
saying. I
Yeah.
would
Just the bid
edit it down to the
specification.
Yeah,
request
that's
for
right.
proposals.
As it's written, it does say as requested by the town manager, so it's not like the town manager or the council is bound
No.
to send all bids to them. It's basically if Diane has a question that she thinks
Right.
would be useful, she could ask the finance committee to take a look at it.
But I'm saying take bid specs right out of it.
But,
because-
with that, I mean, I guess, I don't know, I have a different look at it, and maybe I'm totally wrong, but going back to, again, I'll throw out Eunice there, okay? The idea of a program, you know, I mean, the idea of someone requesting that we're gonna actually buy this program, it just as face value, but the idea of coming back and saying, with this program, this is what we're getting with it, and these are the specs that we want, and these are the ones, you know what I mean, more definition
Yeah.
into that, maybe better than the idea
I
of.
covered that under L.
L?
Make other recommendations or fiscal matters or projects as it may from time to time to be advisable, because Munis would have fallen under that category.
Yeah.
Not from the writing of the specs. You can have the considerations that you want for going into that process, but at the time to vet it would have been under that special project category.
Yep, I didn't actually read into L as being saying that, but now that you mentioned, I mean,
Yes.
as long as everybody has understanding where that falls
It
into
has a
place.
place,
It has a
because-
place, yep.
We had a room full of people here tonight. The fact is, if we had a finance committee, that ad hoc committee would have already been in place to be able to start that process. The other ones that I had were review the annual audit findings as presented by the outside auditors. And the fact is, we either have it as R.H. Smith present something to them, or it's summarized for their consumption by the finance director. It's not review the annual audit, it's kind of open-ended. What are they reviewing? They're reviewing the specifics as presented.
Audit findings?
Yep. As presented by the finance director is the way I would actually
Yeah.
recommend that. Because we get it here, but
Yeah.
there's an exit interview. That discussion that's actually happening with the finance director, you could definitely insert somebody to actually hear that, to know what we're hearing, to be able to vet that properly. And that's just my first take, because one of the things that I was reacting to was kind of to one of the first meetings we actually sat in here, is when you send me a document and it's new language, one of the things I'm always concerned about is what we had in play to begin with and what did we just it's a good document, but there are key pieces in here that I still like from what we originally had.
And did you bring those forward? You think you have most of those presented tonight, or?
Yeah, for the most part, if you got the summary of what I presented, yes, absolutely, sir.
So it's just small tweaks, it's basically.
That's all it is.
So can you
99%,
go back
yeah.
to, are you going to send those to me so that I can, please?
You can have
Better.
those. You can have those, but those won't mean squats. You can't read that, I
Yeah.
guarantee
You have to call for the,
The ciphers
Yeah.
ring.
No, yeah.
Translation.
The Allen to English translation.
Thank you.
so
That's
I
the way
guess,
my
I
wife
guess in
was.
roundup, we're actually not that far away, basically just one more revision, just tweaking a little bit
Yeah.
and looking at it, and then we can actually move forward with it. Just what you're thinking.
I don't see it as broke. It's moving forward, and the fact that I was going to summarize most of this and get it to Diane, but I figured at least the discussion on purpose, because I didn't know in public, not knowing what you guys were thinking, because I don't want to be
Yeah.
controlling the show.
Oh, no, I think all good recommendations I think we can all get on board with. One thing I looked at, and I just wanted to ask, with the conflict of interest, as members of the Finance Committee shall adhere to the conflict of interest policy established by the Town Council. Where does that live? Where's our conflict of interest policy? Because we're establishing it, so I just want to know, is it the standard one?
That one?
Yeah, that's one that's
Personnel policy?
the blanket policy that we use right now for conflict of interest.
Yep,
Okay, good.
it's
If that
on-
covers us, leave it as intact. Because I thought it was easier than to say that
I just know that.
spouse can be on the same committee. Well, that kind of actually goes without
I
saying.
think we have a special conflict of interest statement in our ordinance, and that's what I was
As long
referring
as it refers back to that, why rewrite something?
That, yeah.
Yeah, I have one question on the section for members where it doesn't actually specify who's appointing the members that I can see. It just says that they'll be comprised of residents. I know it's the council, but I think it needs to be clarified.
I think Alan has that on his
Okay,
paper. We're
okay.
going to add that.
All right, okay. I noticed
Appointed
that
by
reading it over.
council.
Again, I hand that down. The fact is, there's content in there that we're leaving on the cutting room floor that I think that we want to reconsider some of that to keep in.
So I think we're at the point, we're taking the first pass at this, maybe just do a revision.
Yeah, bring it back to the
bring it
next
back?
meeting.
No vote needed, I don't think, right?
No, I don't think any vote is needed at this point. So we'll table this until we get the revised copy. And do you feel comfortable that it would be ready for the next meeting? And if not, that's fine, just want to understand.
Should be.
You sure your timeline's fine with that, supports that?
Yeah.
Okay, if something changes, just shout, we can.
You can even put it on as a first reading, and if you have changes, you can still change it and make it a first reading next time.
What I'll do is I'll do it and I'll send it out to you,
Yeah.
just to make sure we got everything. Just respond back if you can, because we'll put it on as a first reading. 'Cause
mean-
it's going to go through 2 readings.
Yeah.
For clarity, you guys all know she gave it to us 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Me actually getting it to you tonight, the fact is that's my schedule. I apologize for that. It is nothing on Diane. It was literally, yes.
You only had one good thumb, we'll give you a pass.
What's it got to do with my brain, dude? Brain should say, keep the thumb away from the saw.
That happens sometimes. All right, so I think we're all set with this one. We're going to move on. Next item.
Order 2019-188, road name request for Hayfield Lane and Shady Lane.
Passes E911?
Yeah, it wouldn't be here if it didn't, so Kathy's
Anybody got
very
anything? Kat
particular
has the
on
motion,
that.
is the second, all in favor?
Oh, who made the motion?
Alan? There was a second, I think was
I'll
either
second it.
yeah, somebody on that side
Okay,
of the aisle. I
6-0,
saw a hand go
order
up.
passed, got it.
Perfect, next item.
Ordinance 2019-189, for the bond question for the municipal road construction and improvements for $1.5 million. This is a second reading, a roll call vote is required.
I'll make a motion.
Second that.
Okay, here we go. Any discussion on this? We all set? We know what it is?
Got this far, I guess we need to keep rolling, right?
Correct.
All right, so roll call. Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Albert,
Yes.
Counselor Colby,
Yes.
Counselor Brunel,
Yes.
and Counselor Lunt.
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays, order passed.
Okay, next item.
Ordinance 2019-190 for the bond question for the Lisbon Water Department's infrastructure for $6 million. Second reading, roll call vote required.
Make the motion.
Second.
And are you ready?
We are ready.
Counselor Albert,
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Brunel,
Yes.
Counselor Colby,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt.
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays, order passed.
Now,
Infrastructure moves on.
all appropriate actions to be able to properly educate people for November's ballots are being taken on our part.
Yeah, well, I did mine on a statement, intent content statement.
Okay.
That's been shared. We'll continue to send it out.
We can
Okay.
post it on
Web
our
and
election page. if you
whatever.
want to
Yeah,
send
we'll
it to
post
me.
it on the election page.
Okay, thank you.
I've had a few people contact me with some questions, and I've answered those, so.
Is there anything you guys have that we can do to assist on that? Okay, so you guys got that angle covered as well, right on.
Do you want to also send that to me, and I can put it on our website? When people look for maybe election information there.
We can also send something out via mail if you want us to go through that expense on this.
I think that we'd probably get crucified for public use of funds, so let's just leave it at that if it's going out in the statement.
Last year, Cheryl had interviewed myself and Tom Martin, we got some questions that I had not.
She did.
Pretty helpful, got information out to the public. I got the public.
Okay, did she solicit you?
She did.
From PCL? Well, where was that coming from?
I'm sure we can make a call and then make it happen again.
Cheryl herself.
perfect.
I think Cheryl will be more than happy. I won't
Make sure your hair looks good,
volunteer
Randy.
for her, but
It's all about the hair, dude.
Get a little powder.
All right. Next item.
Order 2019-191, the warrant for the November 5th, 2019 election, and the council's recommendation on the ballot question 1 and 2.
Must be Mark's turn.
It is.
All right, I'll make that motion.
And is your recommendation yes?
Yes.
Sometimes I abuse myself.
And the rest of us.
Okay, there's a yes, there's a motion. Wow.
Careful with that.
I'll second it.
There it is. Any discussion?
No.
No, set it up.
All in favor?
6-0, yes. And
Okay, sorry, next item.
next item is other business. You were in favor, right, Counselor Ward?
Yes,
Okay.
My mic was broken.
absolutely. Sorry.
Other business?
Okay.
Council
I'm
committee
sorry,
reports.
I'm napping over here. I'm laughing at Alan. Okay, so start off with school. That's me. Business as usual. They roll on. At 1 month in, and it seems to be going okay. So that's where we're at right now. They're adjusting nicely. Next up, it's going to be planning board.
I got nothing to report tonight.
LDC.
meeting tomorrow night here, 6 o'clock. So if anybody has any interest, that's where it's happening.
Conservation Commission.
Conservation was canceled for tonight. It's been postponed. Richard hit the highlights tonight in the meeting.
Recreation Committee.
Nothing to report.
County Budget.
County, we actually started last Wednesday, and tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, pick up your budget binder, sir. Mr. Post will have it. 5.41% increase is the starting figure at this point. So we're rocking and rolling on
Stick
Wednesday
in the
nights.
eye. Yeah. Oh, okay.
That's my report.
No pressure. Bring some good news there, library.
All right, I do actually have
You
some
call
good
me
news.
radio.
The library is just starting their new program now where you can go into any of the libraries that are in this program. There's like 30 of them in the state of Maine where you can take your library card in and you can check out books from other libraries, and then you can bring them back there or bring them back to the Lisbon Library. And, so you go into the Lewiston Public Library and take out some books with your Lisbon Library card. Really great program that if you're up on vacation somewhere up in the northern part of the state, you can go into one of their libraries up there and get some books out or rent a DVD.
We're going global.
Yeah, I like that. Mrs. Nato and her staff doing a crack job down there, keeping us in the 21st century. Awesome. All right, next item.
Town manager's report.
Nothing to report tonight.
Okay, like that. Quiet and uneventful. Next item.
Department head written reports.
Anybody have any questions about the department head written reports that you've seen?
Good.
Congratulations, Detective Picard.
Yes. Nice
I
work.
don't know how long that's been official, but reading it in that, congratulations.
All right.
Go, Jeffrey.
Next item.
Nothing for appointments, council communications.
Anyone have anything at this time? I just want to go ahead and thank everyone who came out again tonight. Much appreciated. I know that it was a little contentious as we waited to go ahead and kick it off, but I'm glad and very proud to live in a community where we have differences and we can come together and talk about what those are and start working towards and looking at solutions versus pointing fingers and being negative. So I'm pretty proud of the turnout tonight and the way that everybody interacted. So thank you all.
I think I heard $50 or $75 a permit tonight. Is that what people are recommending?
Are you trying to cause hate and discontent?
Just less than the dumpster rental.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Oh, I'm going back with that. We're closing. All options are on the table. Leave it at that. Just leave it at that. Next item.
Audience participation for new items.
At this time, anyone in the audience who would like to jump up and speak, please feel free to come to the
I had one
podium.
more thing. Chief provided it to us. The fact is, he mentioned it in his report about the sketch drawing for the truck and where it's at. You said 10 months, early spring?
It looks like it's going to be spring, probably mid to late spring.
So if you have the specifics of what we look for, it's been ordered and that type of stuff too, that was in his report as well.
Could you get a digital copy over? And I'd like to get this, at least if nothing else, can get this living somewhere on the website. That way people see if they wanted to. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just place somebody and click. Say, hey, yeah, that's the new truck's coming. If they have any questions, when they look at the price tag, they can actually see what we're getting. Super. And going back to what I was saying before, if there's anybody at this time want to jump up, any new items, any discussion? Seeing none, next item.
Nothing for executive session. Order 2019-192 to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion is she already left.
All in favor? Wait, I had some discussion. I'm kidding.
You stand adjourned.
Let us know how
Thank
may
you.
go.
Thank you.
You know, I really didn't want to spend my wedding anniversary with you folks.
I gotta
But you did.
But I did.
But you did.
open that back up.
You're a poor judge of character.
Sunday.